So here is our web application hosted in a container called as web apps. This is hosted in Northern Europe. And if you notice on the right hand side, it has an IP address and fully qualified domain name as well. So that's the DNS name. If you recall from the previous lesson, we did assign a DNS name to it. All right. So I will copy this URL and paste it in the browser to show you how the web app looks like. There you go. It was quick to show up on the web browser. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the IP address. So I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, go to the browser and correct this and hit enter. It's going to, of course, show the same page. But the objective here is to tell you that accessing, provisioning web applications has been made much easier with the help of container instances. Of course, you may be thinking about how do I make my own custom image? How do I make my own custom web application? Well, we're going to take a look at that in a moment later on in the upcoming lessons. But for now, let's understand containers from the administration perspective. And slowly, as and when we understand those concepts, we'll drill down into the repositories, hosting images there, and customizations as well. So going back to the container dashboard, you got several statistics that will tell you the CPU utilization, memory, network bytes transmitted and received. So these are the very basic metrics that you will need as an administrator of containers to see the performance of your web application. When I click on containers, I would be able to see all the events that have happened with this container. So when the image was pulled, and what particular image was it, right? So we picked up ACI Hello World image. When did it start? When was it created? Several properties related to it as far as the compute power and specifications are required, and then all the logs that are generated on the go. One thing that will be very interesting for you is the connect button, which you can click on and connect to the bash of the container and run your own scripts from here. Looks like there were no problems with my container because the restart count is 0. That's something as an administrator I will always come here to see if my containers failed, if there was any problem, did it ever restart. Well, this is the place where I should come and check. Another important point is the identity section. So if you click on identity, you would be able to integrate with managed identities. So the advantage here of integrating with a managed identity is that you can have some kind of a credential stored in the Azure Key Vault, and then the managed identity can peek into the Key Vault to authenticate you against the cloud services. So what you're essentially doing is you're granting permissions to the container to go and get those credentials hosted in the Key Vault with the help of managed identities. At this point, it is still in preview. So let's go back to the overview section. And what I want to also show you is that you can stop the container, restart the container from here, also delete if required. So if you're doing the labs along with me, if you're done with the lab, go ahead and hit the delete button, because the pricing of this container is per second. Although it's like fraction of a cent, it's not much. And of course, for a free tier subscription, it will be free. But the question is, can we deploy web apps in containers only with the user interface? Well, no. So what we're going to do in the next lesson is go ahead and deploy the container instances using Azure CLI and see how you can manage them as well. Let's get started with that then.